back. You're watching Market Fatafat on ET now. Let's continue with the countdown. And Hemen, you have Axis Bank on your radar, wherein you have actually asked for traders to hold on to this one. What's your rationale?
Well, firstly, the stock is in an intermediate uptrend. We walked into a small corrective phase. It's sustaining about the 55-day exponential moving average. It has shown relative strength in a weak market. So the assumption is hold with a stop loss of 600. The previous high was 627 or so. That's what we would expect to test. And if it closes above that level, further upside seems possible.
Okay, let's move on to the next stock then, and it's Jet Airways. Naturally, this one's going to find a place on our countdown as the company delivered its Q2 numbers yesterday. Yes, it was the third straight quarter of a loss that they delivered in the bottom line. However, some important notes coming in from Jet Airways. First up, they continue to make the statements for the business on a going concern basis. They've also spoken about the fact that the net worth was negative as on the 30th of September. However, do remember they already have an expert that's engaged to help them in the turnaround plan. They've started the review and consolidation of the network, and they're going to add 11 Boeing 737 MAX to their fleet this year. After dipping yesterday in trade, today there's a bit of a bounce back witnessed in Jet Airways, and I think you could also attribute it to the continuous fall in crude oil prices, which has sort of rubbed off on all aviation stocks in trade. Currently, Nalco came out with its Q2 numbers. A strong set.
It is a strong set, but contrary to the numbers delivered, the stock is under immense selling pressure today. Let me just go through the numbers real quick. Revenues were up for nearly 24%, coming in at 3,040 crores. EBITDA as well as bottom line, both of these parameters, they've done a very good job. It has almost doubled as far as the PAT is concerned, from 234 crores to 510 crores. EBITDA almost came in threefold higher, 851 crore versus 335 crores. Margin expansion was very sharp, 13.7% was what they reported in the same quarter last year, and this time around it has come in at 28%. So clearly a very strong set of performance delivered.
Okay, so Nalco today is lower by 4% of the day's high. Vivek, how are New India Assurance numbers?
Well, Mubina, actually quite disappointing because of the fact that, if you're talking about the revenues up almost 9% on a year-on-year basis, but the value of the new premium business that the company had actually has not really cheered the street. In fact, a lot of brokerages have actually come out with notes saying they're quite disappointed, and they believe that the kind of valuations given to this particular name are actually quite elevated. Profits went down almost 56% on a year-on-year basis, and markets clearly, in a mood to sell off this particular name, down almost 2.5%.
Okay, moving on to the next stock. Kunal, you have Havells on your radar. In the last 1 month, we've seen a decent uptick come by, almost 100 rupee uptick from the lows of early October. What are you witnessing on the charts here?
So yes, and after that rally, the stock followed consolidation. Now, generally we term consolidation after a strong uptrend as a positive bias, and you wait for a breakout. Today, apparently, the breakout has happened for Havells, and it's on the back of some heavy volumes as compared to the last 1 week. So it indicates that the stock is ready for yet another ride on the upside. 700 could be an immediate target for Havells, and I would suggest a buy at current levels.
Okay, so that's Havells for you. Moving on, we are witnessing a result reaction in Aurobindo Pharma, which came out with its numbers late last evening. It was a strong quarter, top line growth of 7.1%. Profits were down 15.8%, but that's on account of the fact that Q2 FY18 did have that one-time extraordinary Renvela profits. A strong US sales trend as well, higher by 13% sequentially. It increased to $318 million, so not bad over there either. Of course, there was a margin compression, but the stock price today has dipped by a little over 3%. And Karania, Godrej Industries, how is that one reacting to its numbers?
Well, reaction has been fairly positive. In fact, it's hovering around the day's highest point as well. Top and bottom line performance has particularly been very impressive. Revenue was higher by almost 15%, 2,600 crores is what they reported. PAT came in at 190 crores, higher by almost 59%. But yes, there was a bit of a compression on the margins front, 5.2% versus 6.9%. EBITDA also came in lower by 14%, but the profit parameter is something that seems to be extremely sharp and could be one of the main triggers as to why the stock is also rallying away.
Okay, so Godrej Industries, sharp rally witnessed in trade today. Vivek, what's the news when it comes to Cipla?
Well, it's a very, very interesting news. The company has a US arm called as Invagen, and Invagen at this point of time has actually gone ahead and acquired, it's looking to acquire Avenue Therapeutics. Now remember, this is a US based company, and the acquisition will be done in two stages. First, 1/3 of equity will be transferred to Invagen, and then another 1/3. So the total, if you're talking about total consideration for the sale, almost $35 million. And the other thing that may happen is that there could be a reverse merger between Invagen as well as Avenue Therapeutics, and this is something that analysts are saying will actually aid the US sales for the company. And at this point of time, analysts are actually saying that even the valuations at which this particular acquisition is done is quite attractive. So as far as Cipla is concerned, a reasonably moderate sized acquisition is what they've done as far as the US business is concerned.
And lower for Cipla. Moving on, Himen Jindal Steel. Yesterday we witnessed a decline coming in. Today that decline seems to be continuing. What are you witnessing here?
Well, absolutely. I think firstly, we saw downward bar reversal coming in yesterday. That is technically a negative. It has posted a fresh 5 trading session low. So a small sideways movement has now turned into distribution. The stock continues to remain in a longer term downtrend, posting lower top, lower bottoms on the monthly chart. So frankly speaking, it looks weak on all time frames. So it's a sell on bounce.
0.2% lower for Jindal Steel today in trade. Coal India, meantime, take a look at how they performed in their second quarter numbers. It's been a good set, undoubtedly. Revenue rose 22.3%. We were expecting a revenue growth of just about 20-odd%. Profits too jumped up almost 9 times from 370 crores to 3,084 crore rupees. Most brokerages as well seem to be either having a hold or a buy stance. Jefferies, for instance, has a buy with a target price at 350 rupees. So a decent 90 rupee uptick is what they are expecting from the current levels. Coal India higher by 0.9%. Karanya, it's a good set of numbers from Brigade Enterprises as well.
That's right. Sales have come in higher by 70% at 826 crores. Profits have doubled from 42 crores to 86.5 crores. EBITDA performance was also shown a robust jump up of 63%, 218.8 crores versus 134.2 crores. Margins, a slight compression was seen there, about 70 basis points or so, 26.5% versus 27.7%. But the fact is that the management is extremely bullish about pricing trends, extremely bullish about the growth prospects. They came on our channel just about an hour ago and said how they are very much on track to post rather achieve all the targets that they have set for the end of this fiscal, and H2 also looks fairly promising.
Okay, so that's the word coming in on Brigade Enterprises. Off the day's high, but still higher by 1.6%. Vivek, Britannia came out with its Q2 numbers. We have brokerage reactions, and what's the verdict?
Well, brokerages, although they've been quite impressed by the fact that volumes have come in double-digit growth, almost 12% is what the kind of volume growth that they're penciling in. But what most of the brokerages are saying at this point of time, especially Macquarie, they're saying that the margin expansion run rate that they were expecting is slightly below what the estimates were. Even though the revenues and profits came in line with what the market was anticipating, the kind of margin erosion that the company saw is something that's keeping them quite subdued at this point of time. So what they're saying is that they're expecting consensus downgrades as far as Britannia is concerned over the next couple of years, and which is why a lot of EPS have been downgraded as far as most of the brokerages are concerned. Britannia at this point of time trading almost 0.5% lower.
There you have it. That's the word coming in on Britannia. Moving on, Kunal, you have a buy on JSW Energy. Why is that?
So I think a couple of days back the stock had given a breakout of a downward sloping trend line, and that trend line which is more prominent because it's almost a 9 or a 10 month downward sloping trend line. Now today on the daily charts as well, the stock is trying to attempt a close about, or rather attempt to break about the 200 DMA. So if it manages to surpass this 200 DMA and then on the back of this downward sloping trend line break, I believe that this could be a restart of a new uptrend for JSW Energy. Would suggest a buy with 78 to 80 approximately as a target range and stop loss close to 67.
Okay, that's JSW Energy. Kunal has a buy on this one. Shree Cement came out with its Q2 numbers, another victim of the IL&FS problem, as my colleague Vivek Iyer puts it. Profits are down by more than 76% at 49 crore rupees. Revenues, however, did show an uptick, but I think the problem, of course, came in on account of the the provisioning made for the IL&FS exposure. And of course, as is the case with most of the cement companies, we have witnessed margin compression. Shree Cement was no stranger to that. So from 26.1% in the corresponding quarter, the EBITDA margins came in at a little over 20%. And of course, they made a provision from the investment of 171 crore rupees that they did make in ILNFS. Moving on from earnings delivered to earnings expected, Karanya, key one today is going to be Sun Pharma.
That's right. We're expecting an okay set of numbers. The sales could be coming in at 7,450, an up move of 13%. Profits could be coming in at 975, higher by 7%. We're expecting a decent growth on EBITDA and EBITDA margins as well. However, if you look at the Q2 performance, it did not see a meaningful launch either for Taro or ex-Taro. US sales are likely to decline on a sequential basis for both. Margins are also likely to see a benefit of currency depreciation, and that's something that's likely to aid margins and EBITDA performance. And also higher India sales is something that could be lending support to the margin expansion this time around.
Okay, and it's 3.8% lower for Sun Pharma ahead of its numbers. On that note, thanks to all of you for joining in. Heyman, to you as well for giving us your time on ET. Now we'll wrap it up on this edition of Market Fatafat. Stay tuned. Markets at noon comes up next. Good morning. You tuned into Market Fatafat right here on ET Now, the show where we get you a wrap of all the stocks that you need to watch out for in trade today. All the movers and shakers and Mubina Kapasi. The markets, meantime, let's see what they are up to. And the Nifty is just about flatlining as we speak, which is lower by about 0.07%. The Sensex 2 has given up the 35,000 mark decisively, 34,800 mark decisively, and now it's lower by about 42 odd points. The broader markets continue their underperformance, with the mid-cap index today losing another 200 points after the decline witnessed yesterday. But without any further ado, let's introduce our guests then who are going to be joining us on board for the next 30 minutes. We have with us Karanya Rao, Vivek Iyer, Kunal Bothra, and we also in fact are joined by Heyman Kaparia of KR Chukri Securities. So, good morning to all of you. Thanks for joining in. And the very first stock that we have on our radar is Eicher Motors. Not only, of course, is the stock reacting to its Q2 numbers, but here's an ET Now exclusive as well. A very important stock moving story broken to you right here on the channel. And this is with respect to its Chennai plant. Now, sources say that the Chennai plant strike is likely moving towards closure. Workers are likely to resume work over here. Sources also suggest that the management union and administration officials did have some talks. So it looks like a resolution is being approached for Eicher Motors Chennai plant, and that's something that's providing some support to the stock in today's trade. Moving on, Kunal, let's talk about Pidilite Industries. What is it that you're observing here? Interestingly, of course, being a big crude consumer, this one has had its bad days on account of the big jump witnessed in crude prices. What are you observing today?
So yeah, I think in the effect of that you're seeing on the prices as well, rather the positive effect of on the prices for the stock price for Pidilite. And look at the last 2 weeks of price recovery from 900. The stock has recovered smartly to almost 1,040, 1,050 levels. Now at current levels, it's on the verge of a breakout on the short-term charts, and if that breakout happens, say around 1,045 levels for Pidilite, then it could be a breakout of almost 50-60 rupees further upside. So I think a short-term trader should keep this stock on its radar. About 1,045, which would confirm the breakout, I think the stock would rally to almost 1,100, 1120 levels.
Okay, so that's on Pidilite Industries, higher by a little over 1%. Meantime, here's an ET Now exclusive. Sources say that operational creditors are actually batting for Ruia's proposal. This is with respect to the SR Steel story. Let's just go across to Ashwin Mohan to understand what he's picking up. SR Steel has been one of those very complex IBC stories. Ashwin, what's the latest?
Right. Good morning, Mubina. So essentially, this is a very important development because the all-important hearing at the NCLT to consider the COC's decision wherein they have selected ArcelorMittal as the preferred bidder for SR Steel is coming up later this month. Now, the entire concept of the IBC is recovery, and currently we are looking at a situation wherein there are two categories of creditors. There are financial creditors on one side, there are operational creditors on one side. It's the financial creditors who make up the committee of creditors of the COC, and they have batted for ArcelorMittal. That's something that the operational creditors are not entirely very comfortable with, and that's why I'm given to understand some sources that they are batting for the 54,000 crore settlement proposal that was offered at the last moment by the Ruia. Sources are telling me that one of the operational creditors Orissa Stevedores, which is a cargo handling player on the east coast of India, has filed a plea at the NCLT, and this plea has been filed against State Bank of India and the resolution professional in the SR Steel case. Now, essentially, what this plea says is that it seeks a direction from the NCLT to the COC to consider the SR Steel settlement proposal that has been submitted by the Ruia, and they are saying that no action should be taken on the resolution plan to select ArcelorMittal until this proposal has been selected. Now, one of the main reasons is their argument seems to be that the financial recoveries of operational creditors have not been taken into account while selecting ArcelorMittal. That is the big, bone of contention: operational creditors versus financial creditors, and that is the reason why this plea has been filed by Orissa Stevedores. In fact, I'm given to understand that many other operational creditors may also follow suit and file similar pleas at the NCLT. So, as we look at it, currently it seems to be a battle between operational creditors and financial creditors, one batting for ArcelorMittal and the other saying, if you go ahead with ArcelorMittal, we won't get a recovery. So that's where the case stands as of now. We'll have to see how the NCLT reacts to this latest push from the creditors. Back to you.
Okay, Ashwin, thanks a lot for that ET Now exclusive. I think we can cut across to the Power Secretary as well, who is speaking at this moment. Let's listen in.
It's about less than 25%. So you can sort of estimate that at what capacity they are running because of less availability of the domestic gas.
Any new policy being worked out for gas allocation to the power sector?
No, it was part of some discussions in the high-level committee. So based on the recommendations, if something is to be worked out, we'll be working on that.
Is the Power Ministry working on a plan to consolidate two finances, PFC and IEC?
For strategic reasons, I won't be able to comment on that. Both are listed companies, so it won't be proper for me to say anything.
So can we expect Shakti 2 for the stranded assets, and especially when a lot of power assets are stranded because of coal issues?
What do you mean by Shakti 2? Shakti is there. If people have PPAs, they can always get coal.
Projects.
No, that was for the plants which had PPAs. For other plants which do not have PPAs, it's already available. They can take the linkage under Shakti and then look for PPAs in 2 years' time frame. So all possibilities have been taken care of under Shakti.
So is there any sense that new PPAs are coming, or we'll look at short-term and medium-term PPAs?
When we looked for this 2,500 megawatt for medium term, we found a lot of interest coming up. So definitely there would be PPAs coming up. We'll try another. This was a pilot. Now, after learning whatever was the shortcomings, we'll try to bring a formal scheme for another round of 2,500 megawatt.
So when can we expect you?
We are working on it. It will be difficult to give a date.
So the next tranche will be also 2,500 megawatt.
It's better to give in smaller tranches so that demand comes accordingly.
Any timeline anticipated?
No, we are working on it. Once the documentation is ready, then only I'll be able to give a timeline.
What kind of changes are you planning to bring in the second?
No, this was this thing that we didn't have difference between fixed cost and variable cost, and there was no escalation and all. So all those points will be discussed. Whatever stakeholders have raised, we'll be discussing those points. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Okay, that was the Power Secretary speaking to the media, talking about various points with respect to their program Shakti for stressed assets in the power sector, and of course even talking about the two listed companies, PFC, REC, the proposals with respect to the same. Moving on, let's continue with the countdown on market fatafat. Currently, Bank of India came out with its numbers. The loss figure ballooned and in fact was higher than what the street was expecting.
Exactly, that's the reason why the stock has been cracking the way. Even yesterday it was under pressure, today as well. Severe down move is what we've witnessed. See, 7.5% lower, but yes, the loss has come in at 1,156 crores versus a profit not only on a sequential basis but even on a year-on-year basis. There was a profit of 179 crore rupees, against which they've reported a loss of more than 1,150 crores. NII was also below par, below expectations, 0.6% higher at 2,900 odd crore rupees. NPAs have, yes, they have seen a bit of a recovery and an improvement on a sequential basis as well. Net NPA has come in at 7.64% versus 8.45%. total provisioning has increased on a sequential basis, 3,300 crores versus 2,500 crores. NPA provisioning has also ballooned to 2,800 crores. So those are some parameters which are not going down too well with the investors, and that's why the stock is cracking away.
Okay, by the way, there's some important flashes coming on your screens which have had an impact on the way IndusInd Bank stock prices reacting. Just pull up IndusInd Bank for you. The news piece, by the way, that's appearing on your screens is that IndusInd Bank has said that the purchase of IL&FS Securities Services, or rather known as ISSL, has now been terminated, and they've also said that the new IL&FS board is going to initiate a new process for sale. This is something that is seeing IndusInd Bank react very, very sharply to its, to that news piece. Remember that even IL&FS had decided to begin monetizations of its asset and restart the sale process of IL&FS Securities and Services, and even ISSL Settlement and Transaction Services, which is of course very, very important given the huge debt figure on IL&FS's books. So yes, the new board is going to rebid the broking arm. This after the capital market regulator SEBI approved the sale to IndusInd Bank for 400 crore rupees. And now the new board also wants to follow a transparent process of bidding for businesses to raise funds and settle dues. Now IndusInd Bank has come out and said that the new IL&FS board is going to initiate a new process for sale. So important news coming in, at least looking at the way the stock price is reacting. A sharp spike up is what you've witnessed in this one. And now it's lower only by about 0.9% as opposed to 3 to 4% of a decline that we had seen earlier in the day. But here's another PSU bank in focus after Bank of India, UCO Bank, and Vivek, here too we've seen a similar trend of losses ballooning.
Right, losses have been ballooning as far as UCO Bank is concerned. Numbers were not so good, and numbers were clearly not what the street was anticipating. But the one thing that you need to watch out for is the fact that the company or the bank has actually gone ahead and asked for a capital infusion. So if you're talking about capital that's coming in, almost 7,000 crore is what they are asking from the government, and this is mainly to prop up their capital reserves. So on the back of that, UCO Bank is definitely in the news today. Weak results, stock is down almost 3%.
Okay, almost 3% lower for a UCO Bank today in trade. Okay, we have